Hundreds of civilians are killed as a series of explosions rocks the city of Bombay. Over a nightmare 2-hour period, the stock exchange, international hotels, the Air India headquarters and crowded street markets are devastated by 12 strategically placed bombs. To this day, no one has claimed responsibility. A month later, heartthrob, tough guy Sanjay Dutt, Bollywood's screen supremo, is suddenly arrested, accused of being involved in the blast conspiracy. It's like hearing that Sylvester Stallone has been arrested for the bombing of the World Trade Center. Branded a terrorist and anti-national, Sanjay Dutt sees his career hang in the balance as fame and stardom turn sour.
Sanjay Dutt did symbolize the spoiled brat.
Well, he was a guy who would call a spade a spade. He was never diplomatic. He couldn't be.
He has this very macho attitude to life.
It's the image they like about him, and presumably it's the image which crucified him.
Most of his roles were those of a rough, tough, rowdy guy, and not exactly intelligent acting he had ever displayed.
He had this tendency to take the law into his own hands. You'd hear that he'd gone and crashed his car against an actress's wall, and quickly everything was hushed up. Then you'd hear that he had taken a gun and gone berserk with it. He had the clout to get him out of trouble every time he got into it, and he got into it with great frequency.
See, I live a real life. I don't live a real life. Is it? I mean, I live like a normal human being should live. So, I mean, if that is called wild, then I think all of us are wild in some ways, you know. Other people, I think they hide that fact, or they do it at home. But I'm okay. I mean, I like to go out. I like to be with my buddies. I like to party. I like to... You know, everybody goes through that phase of driving his car really fast, so I did all that stuff, you know, did wheelies on the bikes, and so, I mean, about me, I mean, I'm open about it. You know?
I think it's very unfortunate that Sanjay Dutt got into this entire mess where he was called anti-national, etc. Because going by the track record of both his parents, I don't think you can find more patriotic people than them.
Sanjay was the only son of one of Bollywood's royal families. His mother, Nargis, was the star of stars. Beautiful, glamorous, talented, sophisticated. She was a romantic legend, an icon of the 50s. Her swan song was Mother India, the Gone with the Wind of Indian cinema, for which she won immortality. At the peak of her career, she married fellow actor Sunil Dutt and retired from films.
Long after she had given up her career as an actress, she continued to be a public figure. She was always actively doing something. She was always socially aware. She was the force behind her husband, who got him into social work.
Sunil Dutt is an actor who believes in doing good. There are many such actors in India. Heroes in the sense, not heroes in the film industry, heroes in the actual social political sense. But the charisma was essentially that of Nargis Dutt, more than Sunil Dutt.
Right from Sanju's birth, she used to keep on shooting him. So there is every record of Sanju, all his milestones on film, like Sanju's first bath, Sanju's first steps. People say that to an extent she was obsessed with the sun.
To me, her greatest weakness was Sanjay. There are so many things that she never told me. He started driving a car when he was about 12 or 13. And of course, he was a young boy, he will bang the car. And the mother will say that I banged the car because, you know, so this is how the relationship was. Always, she protected him to the maximum.
And she used to be after me to watch her movies and stuff, but I used to get jealous of another man holding her and stuff like that. So I think the first time I saw her movie I was about 18, 19.
What was that like, that experience of seeing your mum?
I wanted to kill that hero, whoever it was.
He was a very mischievous boy, and his father thought that if he sent him to a boarding school, he'd be disciplined and he'd grow up into a man, what all fathers want their sons to be.
I feel an actor should be very well educated. But it's not only then he becomes a performer, but when he becomes a big star, he becomes a responsible man to the nation that has made him a big star.
And I realized that I just couldn't study. I didn't know which, I didn't even know what subjects I'd taken in college because I was hardly there. So the easy way out is to join the films. I felt stupid, actually, because whenever I used to see a film, I would say, what the hell are these guys dancing all about? And I was doing the same stuff.
Your first movie and your first movie's premiere is like a beginning of a new life for an actor. And at that time, his mother was not well, and she had come back from America, and she was in Breach Candy Hospital. And she told me that no matter what happens, whether I go on a stretcher or whether I go on a wheelchair, you must take me to my son's premiere. I said, I'll certainly take you. But unfortunately, 3 days before the premiere, she died. And this young man who was starting a totally new life, this boy didn't know whether he has to cry or whether he has to smile.
That was her dream, you see, to see me. And every son wants to make his mom proud of him. And I wanted her to see it and all that stuff, but it went the other way.
He was not recognized in the first or second film as actor. He was very young, and that must have hurt him enormously because soon the rumor started that he has become drug addict. And the word went around that Sanjay is ruining the image of that family.
But why did he get films? I don't know about that, because he was on drugs. He used to talk about being on drugs. Every magazine carried that he was on drugs.
I was doing heroin and cocaine and stuff like that. And I used to be whacked out all the time. Even I can't watch those movies of mine. I really can't. Zameen Asman, no? Goops? Huh? We all buzzed, all the time. Oh.
At that time, he made his mother's illness an excuse. When he got over it, he said that was an excuse. I was on to drugs long before my mother was ill. Yes, when his mother was dying, he was smoking pot in the bathroom.
So my emotions and my tears came out after 2 years in a drug cure center, where they sat me down and they told me to express my feelings about my mom. And they played a cassette of hers and I cried for about 4 hours.
So he's had setbacks one after the other, either a health problem or his own health problem, or he's got a problem at home, an emotional problem. One thing or the other has been besetting that family.
After his wife's death, Sunil threw his energies into helping his country. In 1985, he was elected as Congress MP for Bombay North West and became immensely popular, campaigning vigorously for the rights of his poorest constituents. In January 93, communal riots had swept Bombay following the destruction by Hindu extremists of the mosque at Ayodhya. Sunil immediately went to the aid of the worst-hit slums in his area, where the majority of the victims were Muslims. Unaware of the dangers, Sanjay offered to go with him.
Bombay was like the Wild West. There was no law here. There's a lot of killing and burning and looting. what affected me was that women and kids were getting really damaged and burned and raped, and I think that's what made me go out and help these people.
That is, I think, where the problem starts from. He and his father were going with food relief to all the right affected areas. And that was the time when they were labeled as pro-Muslims.
I basically helped humanity, human beings. I didn't think about a Hindu and a Muslim and this and that. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing wrong in helping somebody who really needs help. And it just gets you into trouble.
He was never a politician. And it's only, I think, after a month that he realized the political implications. He says, I think I've done enough of social service now. But by then, I think it was probably too late.
This was the first time I think Sanjay went out of his way to help my father in the political sense. I mean, help my father help the people actually. And he sort of got dragged into this mess. He was totally in the limelight at that time. He was like the target or something.
You should not get larger than life. You should help in your capacity. And my capacity was this much. I tried to go this much. And that's how I ended up in this problem.
He was getting a lot of threatening calls. And one day I was home and I just picked up the phone and I called up, and Priya was alone at home, that's his younger sister. And she told me that she was getting calls saying that a morcha is coming across to the house and they're going to destroy the bungalow.
I can tell you as editor, even I receive such threats, and I am not politically active. So if I can receive threats, somebody who is a candidate and his son and is actively campaigning and working in the Muslim area would definitely receive threats.
Well, there used to be calls like, I will kill you and your family, and they knew exactly where my nieces were studying, they knew the movements of my family members, they knew everything, so it became really scary for us, basically. And they had said that, there'll be about 200 guys who come rape your sisters, and we'll do this and we'll do that. Just to pinpoint down that, okay, that's the school your nieces go to, and your sister leaves the house between 10 to 11, and all that kind of information which was right, that was scary.
He told me that one night he came home and they told him that they were getting these threats, and all night he sat down with a gun, wouldn't sleep, because in case somebody came, his father was not in town, and like his two sisters and were alone in the house, and like he was a man of the family and he had to protect them. And he said he was shit scared.
2 months later, Sanjay was arrested and quickly charged under TADA, India's draconian anti-terrorist laws, with helping to conceal smuggled arms, ammunition and explosives at a safe place, and with illegal possession of 3 AK-56 rifles and other weapons. It was now alleged he had links with the criminals involved in the bomb blast conspiracy, which was believed to be a retaliation for the massacre of Muslims during the January riots. Sanjay claimed he'd been set up.
I do think it's paranoia to say that he's been framed because he helped the Muslim community. By whom? I mean, is the suggestion that it is the Hindu community that has framed him? Or are we talking not in communal terms, are we talking politically? Are we talking about plain and simple politics? That his father belonged to one group in the Congress, and so it was the other group that had him framed.
The first time I heard it was about the gun, not the bombing. And something told me, knowing how Sanju was with guns, that maybe it's true. But I used to hope and pray that it wasn't.
They raided the house that very same day with their police dogs, everything. They didn't find a trace of anything which can be said that this was the weapon that Sanjay Dutt had.
The confessions of two men had originally implicated Sanjay. Hanif and Samir ran a video empire, but were also alleged to have links with Bhai, Dawood Ibrahim, popularly perceived as the godfather of the Bombay underworld, and rumoured to be one of the men behind the bomb blasts.
Well, actually it is not Sanjay's name alone that began to get involved with the underworld. The underworld had begun to get involved in the film industry much before the bomb blast case appeared on the scene.
If you were important, you should have been called to Bhai's parties in Dubai, or you should have fraternized with him, or, you know, you were a personal friend of his, so you could make one phone call and get things done. I mean, people boasted about it. They flaunted their connections.
Sanjay's name cropped up, perhaps because somebody in that nexus gave something to Sanjay, like a car or some guns, or asked for parking facility or something like that, which practice must have been quite common in the film industry.
If a man he has never met in his entire life comes and shakes his hand and puts an arm around him, oh, he's his best friend. I mean, you can't trust people that way. You can't. It's foolish to do that. And yes, Sanjay Dutt is a fool. But beyond that, no. I mean, I won't say he's a criminal or he's a terrorist or he's a fool.
There were a whole lot of people who said he deserved it. I don't think they even said that he really was involved, but they said he deserved it. Meaning, they probably felt he was paying for past sins.
The disadvantage to Sanjay Dutt, in addition, was that his reputation was not exactly good. He began as a drug addict in the minds of people, so his image could be easily sullied.
By an eerie coincidence, in Khalnayak, started years earlier but released soon after the arrest, Sanjay plays a master villain and anti-national terrorist. The film was a huge success.
The press managed to get their hands on photographs which were shot for the film, which were published in all newspapers, and which the public presumed was a reality. They thought that was from the real life, that is what was happening. The kind of image which the public had of him was that this person, if he believes in something, is capable of doing anything.
After 14 months out on interim bail, Sanjay was suddenly rearrested. Every day, a police van drove Sanjay across Bombay to the courthouse. Family and friends grabbed brief moments with him.
And there he was, you know, his fingers through that grill, and he was saying, hi, and it's so good to see you, pray for me, and I love you, and it was so awful. He was like an animal, and only this part of his fingers were through the grill, and we touched our fingers, and he bent down and he kissed my fingers, and it was horrible.
Prison is scary anyway, so when you enter a prison, I mean, you're scared, especially a person who's not a habitual criminal or it's his first time and stuff like that. And then to be put in a high security barrack where they sort of have these militants there. And it's the shape of an egg, and there were 3 doors, and before you enter that barrack, and there are these grills on top where they have these Central Reserve Police patrolling all over. And you're locked up in your cell, and you're allowed just 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening to come out. So basically you're under lock and key the whole day. It's it sort of breaks you mentally.
When they handcuffed my son, at that time I felt that somebody is actually hanging all my dignity and all my honor and whatever I've done for the country. And you know, I couldn't hold my emotions at that time, which I wanted to, because I felt that anything I do, it might affect my son. He might become weaker. And I couldn't hold my tears at that time, and he looked at me. He understood.
You know, see, it's a funny kind of a game between an accused who's inside and the family who's outside. It's sad, and it's, I don't know, it's funny. Because you feel, you know, you don't want to emote that much for them to get worried on the outside, and because they can't do anything. They feel that, you know, we should go and not cry in front of the guy because he shouldn't get upset inside. So we both are sitting and acting our parts, you know.
I always would tell him, you must convince yourself mentally that behind this wall, your father is there. Whether you get up in the night at 12 o'clock, you feel that your father is there, and I will be there. I guarantee you. And so many times in the dead of night, I used to drive to Thane, and I used to park my car outside the walls and all. Sometimes I used to go around, but there's a road going around for a while. So I used to go around and come back. I generally felt that he must be getting that feel that somebody is there around me.
I learned one thing, that I was alone in jail. See, it was just me. Okay? And what I was feeling, nobody could feel. Not anybody. Not my dad, not my sisters, nobody.
After 15 months in prison, bail was finally granted. Sanjay was released to a rapturous welcome. He can now walk free in Bombay, but can do little else. He has to be in court every day that the trial runs. With over 2,500 witnesses for the prosecution alone, the bomb blast conspiracy trial looks set to become the longest in legal history. Sanjay could be attending court for the next 18 years.
Whatever my son has suffered, is suffered because of me, because of my ideologies, my thinking, and my whatever I did, you know, for the common people and all. And the suffering went to him. That's why I feel more sad, because he's the type of guy who doesn't know anything about politics and who doesn't actually never indulge in politics.
I don't know anything. No comments, please, nothing. That's all now. Thanks.
Sunil Dutt's son, found to be identified with the criminals involved in the bomb blast, was not immediately necessarily bought as a fact, but it was extremely convenient to buy.
Media attention was so much focused on him that overnight he had become the terrorist who had bombed the city. You can call it fate, or you can call it a price that you pay for your success. The kingpins they've not managed to arrest. They're all absconding. And the biggest name which people could identify with was Sanjay Dutt.
I go to court every day and I see the proceedings. Nobody's taken my name. They have 2 approvers. They don't mention me. They've questioned about 70 witnesses. Nobody knows who I am. I don't know how I'm there, but I'm there.